This video will walk you through binary inorganic nomenclature. And here we're going to be dealing with two elements in a compound, but both of them are non-metals, which makes this kind of a special naming category. Given a name, we're going to write the formula, and given a formula, we're going to write the name. And this is going to come from the right-hand side of the periodic table where we're dealing with non-metals specifically. So it's a smaller group of compounds that we're going to be dealing with. So let's go from a formula to a name, starting with something where it's kind of familiar to us, CO2. Probably already know the name for this, but let's see how we get there. So we're going to name the first element, and then we're going to name the second element with the prefix to show how many there are. So this is carbon dioxide. The di comes from the number 2, and O for the oxide from oxygen. CO, again, another familiar compound. Let's see where the name comes from. We're going to name the first element, then we're going to name the second element with the prefix to show how many there are, even if there's only one. So this is carbon monoxide. Now, one thing I want to point out is that since there's only one of the first element, carbon, in both these cases, we don't use a prefix for the first element if there's only one. So it's not monocarbon dioxide or monocarbon monoxide. And for numbers going as high as 8, and they do go higher, I've put some of the prefixes here, so mono, di, tri, tetra, penta, hexa, hepta, octa, and they do go a bit higher, but these are the ones that we see most commonly. Let's continue with formulas to names. N2O4. So here we're going to name the first element, and we're going to use a prefix to show how many there are, because now there's a number there which is greater than 1. And we're going to name the second element with the prefix to show how many there are. And this comes out to be dinitrogen tetroxide. Now let's do it again with SF6. We're going to name the first element, and then we're going to name the second element with a prefix to show how many there are. Even if there's only one, here there are 6, so it's sulfur hexafluoride. And that's a really kind of a cool gas. But notice it's not mono sulfur hexafluoride. We know mono on the first one because there's only one. So moving from a name to a formula, let's see, we've got xenon tetroxide. Let's get the formula for that. So we need to give the symbol for the first element. Now, if there is no prefix, like there's like a di or a tri, that means that there must be only one. We're going to give the symbol for the second element and use the prefix to tell us what the subscript should be. So XeO4, and the 4 comes from the tetra, and there is only one, there's no prefix on the xenon, so that must mean there's only one of those. Nitrogen triiodide, a cool little explosive. Again, we're going to give the symbol for the first element, and since there is no prefix, there must be only one of them. And we're going to give the symbol for the second element and use the prefix to tell us how many there are, so it's Ni3. So let's review. So if we're going from a formula to a name, we're going to name the first element using a prefix, but only if there's more than one, and name the second element with a prefix no matter how many there are. If we're going from a name to a formula, we're going to give the symbol for the first element and the symbol for the second element and use prefixes in either the first or second to show how many there are. Again, only if there is more than one for the first element. So let's try these. SO2, CCl4, dinitrogen monoxide, and phosphorus trichloride. If you go through and do these correctly, you come up with sulfur dioxide, carbon tetrachloride, N2O, and PCl3. Practice makes perfect with this kind of exercise, so try and do as many of these as you can. I'll see you in class. Best of luck.